Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. FPL Consult here, and today we're going to take a look at my Game Week 9 transfer plan. So this will be the early transfer plans video later on in the international break as more games come and go and we get more updates of players if they get injured, etc. I will upload an updated transfer plans video. But for now, I just want to share with you guys what I'm thinking about my team going into Game Week 9. Hopefully you guys do enjoy this video, and if you do, please give it a like and also subscribe as well if you are new around here. Right, so let's take a look at my team for Game Week 9 currently. My team value is 100.6 million now, so it has risen quite a bit. I know I did lament a little bit in Game Week 8 about how I was struggling with team value, but since I just wildcarded in Game Week 8, I managed to catch quite a bit of price rises. So the team value is decently healthy. It is good enough, right? 100.6 million with 0.1 in the bank. I have one free transfer, and the 3-5-2 formation is likely what I'm going to take into Game Week 9. I'm very likely to roll the transfer as well if you take a look at the players as we go into them right now. So I'll be starting Turner ahead of Areola because he plays Luton at home. The back three, I did start Gehi, who kept a clean sheet in Game Week 8 and got 3 bonus points as well. So that was really good from Gehi. Quite pleased that I went with a Crystal Palace defender as well because they rotate well with the Newcastle or Spurs assets as they get tougher fixtures moving forward from here. Alright, so Gehi will drop to the bench for Game Week 9. I've brought Dan Burn into the starting 11 for Game Week 9 because he plays Crystal Palace at home, and I do expect them to actually keep a clean sheet there. Newcastle would likely keep a clean sheet because Crystal Palace haven't been scoring loads of goals as well. Right, so Dan Burn here, there's Udogie against Fulham and Matty Cash against West Ham. So this will be the back three. In the midfield, there's James Ward-Prowse, Mohamed Salah, Son, Maddison, and Almiron. Now, all of them have home fixtures. In fact, all of my players have home fixtures except for James Ward-Prowse, who plays Aston Villa away. Right, so this is the exact same midfield that I went into Game Week 8 with, and I'm likely going to stick with it. I'm just one game week after wildcarding. I don't plan to make any transfers here if I'm able to, right, barring any injuries, etc. I hope to roll the transfer. So Almiron, as I mentioned, is quite a big differential for me. Unfortunately, he didn't return against West Ham, but that was always going to be the tougher fixture. I do expect against Crystal Palace that Newcastle will score slightly more goals, and hopefully Almiron would be in and amongst that as well. He didn't look as lively as I wanted against West Ham, right? So hopefully he improves his numbers against Crystal Palace, and potentially he will get a Game Week 10 run out in my team as well if I don't transfer him out come Game Week 10, right? But that beyond that, I think he's likely going to leave my team. We'll talk about my transfer plans in the next section, right? But this will likely be the midfield 5 that I'm going with. This week, captaincy is going to be an issue, right? Because Son has Fulham at home, Salah has Everton at home, and then we see up front here Haaland has Brighton at home, which is a fixture you expect loads of goals to come about from, because already in Game Week 8 we saw Liverpool versus Brighton was 2-2, right? So Brighton in general, their games are very high scoring, whether it is for them or against them. Their games always end up with the minimum of 2 goals at least, so I do expect Man City to score. So currently the armband is on Haaland, and then I have the other striker, second striker, Ollie Watkins, playing West Ham at home. Now, Ollie Watkins should really have gotten more returns against Wolves. He actually picked up a lot of XG in that game. Unfortunately, he hit the post, right, and quite a run of bad luck as well for Ollie Watkins. But I do expect that if he continues to keep up those numbers, the points will come from Ollie Watkins. So there we go. This is a 3-5-2 I'm likely to take into Game Week 9, and I hope to roll the transfer into Game Week 10 with 2 free transfers then, right, to play around with and adjust my team moving forward. So just a little bit about the bench order here. I've put Archer here first on the bench, Gehi second on the bench, and Charlie Taylor last on the bench as well. Right, so there we go with this team for Game Week 9. It's likely how I'm going to look for Game Week 9. And let's take a look at some potential transfers that I'm eyeing up for the next couple of game weeks. So on the screen, I have my watch list, and these are players that I'm eyeing up to bring into my team, whether it is in Game Week 9 if I'm forced to make a transfer, or in Game Week 10, which is ideally when I'd like to bring these players in. And then there's a sell list as well, and these are players that would leave my team or likely would leave my team come the next couple of game weeks, right? So let's talk about the watch list first. So I have players from Arsenal here, namely Saka, Martinelli, and Odegaard. Now, out of all of them, obviously, I don't think I'll be doubling up on them anytime soon, but I think I would want at least one Arsenal attacker come game week 10, so I will have to decide between these three. As usual, it's always between these three. For the time being, Martinelli looks really cheap at 7.7, and he is coming back into the Arsenal side. I do feel like he is still the first choice left wing, right, ahead of Trossard, but there's always that worry about Trossard eating up his minutes. Maybe from 60th minute, you see Martinelli get subbed off, and Trossard maybe gets 30 minutes, etc. Right, so there's always that worry with Martinelli, and that's different with Saka and Odegaard, where you're just sure that they will get 90 minutes every game if they are fit, right, and potentially they're going to share penalties as well. Saka has passed a couple of penalties to Odegaard in the past couple of game weeks, but I would still think he is the main penalty taker if they are crucial big penalties that have to be scored. Not saying that the ones that he passes to Odegaard don't need to be scored, but I feel like if the high pressure ones come, it feels like Saka is going to take them, right? And of course, Saka and Odegaard are much more expensive than Martinelli, so that is also something I will have to consider. If budget is an issue, maybe I may go for Martinelli as well, but it's very little separate between the three. Maybe just penalties that differentiate Martinelli from Odegaard and Saka as well. Right, next up, there's Solimarch and Mitoma. Now, this is because I do think like Brighton's fixtures take a really good turn come game week 10, so I'm not looking to bring them in game week 9 for sure, but come game week 10, I will have to decide whether I want a Brighton attacker. It's likely going to be Mitoma, but I've put Solimarch here just to give a shout out for him because he did really well against Liverpool. Even though he played a left back position, I think he did really well. He's on a couple of set pieces as well, so that's obviously how he got majority of his points against Liverpool, right? So Brighton attackers also definitely in my thoughts. And then at the bottom here, you see I have Jarrod Bowen and Moussa Diaby. Now, of course, in my own team currently, I have Ollie Watkins and I also have James Ward-Prowse. So from these respective teams, Aston Villa and West Ham, I already have one player each. So I will have to decide between the two, between Bowen and Diaby, because I really doubt I would be doubling up on both Aston Villa and West Ham. I think I would just go for a double up, a triple up on one of these teams, right? So it will either be Jarrod Bowen or Diaby that I go for, and likely either an Arsenal or Brighton attacker as the second transfer that I make in game week 10. Right, so for the time being, I feel like Jarrod Bowen definitely looks more lively than Diaby. Diaby got subbed off early, but that could be because of his back injury, etc. I still do rate Diaby as a player, but Jarrod Bowen is just a different player in terms of his role for West Ham. He's so attacking, so clinical, and this West Ham team just looks like they will be scoring a lot of goals moving forward. So Jarrod Bowen is a player I definitely think would be someone that I would be eyeing up for game week 10. And if possible, if budget isn't an issue, because he's slightly more expensive, 7.3 million, if budget isn't an issue, I think I would want Jarrod Bowen as well. So loads of players that I want, as you can see in the watch list here. I will have to make a decision come game week 10 with 2 free transfers, which 2 of these players I want to buy. And then of course, who do I sell them for? So the players here on my sell list are Almiron. If you watched my wildcard team selection video in game week 8, you always knew that Almiron was a player that I'm taking a 2 to 3 week punt on, because come game week 9 now he has Crystal Palace. The game week after that, game week 10, he has Wolves. So if I need to hold him for a couple more game weeks, then I'm fine with that. But game week 11 onwards, I'm likely going to sell him for sure. Right, so next up, there's James Maddison and Son as well. So I don't think that a double up on the Spurs attack will be necessary from game week 10 onwards as well. That's why it makes sense just to put them here in the sell list. I will probably sell one of them and keep the other one, right? So it probably will be either Almiron plus Maddison that goes or Almiron plus Son that goes. I think it's very unlikely I sell both Son and Maddison because of what they offer and how Spurs are just a kind of attack that I think will score quite a number of goals in the game weeks moving forward, even though they didn't score very well against Luton, of course, right? But that was due to various reasons like Bissouma getting sent off, etc. Right, so here we go with my watch list and my sell list. So with these potential transfers in mind, let's tinker around with my team a little bit and see how it may look like putting in these transfers into the transfer planner. So this is my team on the Fantasy Football Hub Transfer Planner. I have a game week rating of 93% and I also have 66.5 predicted points. So barring any injuries, I hope to roll the transfer into game week 10. So let's take a look at my team for game week 10 now. I have 0.1 million in the bank and I will have 2 free transfers to make. technically the team's fixtures are pretty good still, right? Of course, if I'll drop Turner down to the bench, right, because Areola has the better fixture. He has Everton at home and Turner has Liverpool away, right? So assuming I make that swap, I bring Areola into the starting 11. The fixtures are really good, right? In defense, it's Everton for Areola, Luton for Cash, Wolves for Burn, Udogie has Crystal Palace as well. The midfielders, the forwards are all fine, so I'm not really forced to make a transfer. But the thing is, in game week 10, there are other fixtures that I think some attackers would do, better. And on top of that, I also feel like those would be moves that are setting me for the future as well. So I'll show you guys a couple of combinations based on the potential transfers that we discussed just now. So let's say I want to bring in an Arsenal attacker. I think I will very likely have to sell Son, right? Even though that's not what I want. But I think the only way for me to bring in an Arsenal attacker as part of my combinations, right, is to sell Son. So let's say I sell Son, right, and I bring Bukayo Saka in. Right, Saka is of course cheaper than Son, right? So this would leave me with more money in the bank. I have 0.7 million in the bank. There's a couple of ways I can go from here. I can do Almiron to Mitoma, right? This is also one of the potential combinations that I can go for. So this would be Saka and Mitoma in, right? These are players that I will bring in, and then the players I'll be forgoing, right, is Diaby and Bowen. So not really great there because I also want Jarrod Bowen in my team. So another possible combination, right, is instead of going for Saka, I can go for Martinelli here, right? Assuming he's back fit, I do think like he will be the starting left winger, right? And then instead of going for Mitoma here, I can go for Jarrod Bowen, right? I will have enough money in the bank, and then this particular combination here leaves me with 0.5 million in the bank and also a triple up on West Ham of Areola, Ward-Prowse and Jarrod Bowen, right? So these are potential transfers I'm eyeing up, and it largely depends on these Arsenal players, whether I really do want them or not. And I think it's likely that they will be part of my transfer plan. So it's really about who I remove for these Arsenal players, whether I sell Maddison and that would leave me with less money in the bank, whether I sell Son, right? And if I sell Son, I will have more money to do moves like upgrade Almiron to Bowen, or if I sell Maddison, I won't have enough money, I may be forced to go for Mitoma. So there's different permutations that I can play around with. I haven't really firmed up my plans yet, but at least the players I'm looking at is based on my watch list just now, and the players I'm looking to sell will be the two Spurs players, either one of them, and of course Almiron as well. So there we go with my Game Week 10 transfer plans. Let's move over back to Game Week 9 now to just show you guys. So this would likely be the team that I'm going to go into Game Week 9 with. Let me know what you guys think, what transfers did I miss out, and how you guys are looking like for Game Week 9 as well. How are your teams looking like? What transfers are you thinking about? But for now, thank you guys for watching to this point. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, please give it a like and also subscribe as well if you are new around here. And I'll catch you guys in more Game Week 9 content very soon. Bye bye.